Quality over quantity. I had a call this week with someone who was like really jazzed about data. And like, I love that. I'm really jazzed about data too. And on this call, they're like, data. I'm going to collect so much data. I'm going to do so much research. I'm going to have so much data and do so much research. Like, that's my goal, to do so much. That is the wrong goal. Because here's the thing. While I don't believe that a good study necessarily has to take a year or years to do, I do believe that quality data, quality research takes time. So a focus on like mass data, like data, I'm gonna do so much research, to me is like red flag. Like, take a breath, slow down, and let's focus on the quality, not the quantity. I didn't work on hundreds of research studies. I didn't even work on like tens of research studies when I was working on my PhD. There were actually only 2 studies that I worked on from start to finish. There were other ones I jumped in on at various phases. But those 2 that I worked on from start to finish were done so well. Like, I was learning from people who took research really seriously. They were well-designed, well-funded studies. And they got good data. Good in the sense of like, it was quality. It made sense. Like, it was rigorous, right? Like, it was good data. Interestingly, they were both also like pretty small data sets for quantitative data. And I prefer that like little amount of really good data over like treasure troves of data that you can get from like the US Census, for instance. Why? Because I don't necessarily agree with or think the US Census or other entities that collect tons and tons of data ask questions in a way that I think's getting them the best information they could get. But I digress. The point is, focus on quality and just like accept that it's gonna take time. Quality takes time. You've got to come up with a good research question. You need to decide what research design will best allow you to answer that question. You need to identify the data sources or the tools you need to answer that question. Then, in the case of the studies I was on and I'm still on today, we have to create the tools to get the data we want. Then we create the tools, you test the tools, then you actually like use the tools and get the data. Don't even get me started on cleaning the data, because even if you set up everything perfectly and it's really nice and neat, when data comes back to you, it just tends to be a little mussy. You get the data and then you set it up in like the most glorious database, let's say, the most glorious way so you can analyze it. Everything's clearly labeled and it's organized and there's keys and there's color coding and whatever, like it's perfect. And then you start the analysis process and you start with things that are like basic, like just like maybe reading through your qualitative data, or for quantitative, doing descriptive analyses to see how is the data distributed, what types of analyses are even going to work with this types of data. Y'all, this is like, that's not quick. I am so an advocate for doing like quick research so it can be actionable and like more immediately useful to people. But like even like quick, it's gonna take some time because you want to be thoughtful. You want to be thoughtful about the questions. You want to be thoughtful about the methods. And you want to be really thoughtful about building your data set. I remember getting a data set for a study, and they're like, yeah, it's like ready to go, it's clean, you can just use it. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go through it anyways. And I found that like something that should have been marked as 100 was marked as 0. Like, just like you have to take responsibility for your data if you're gonna use it. I discovered it by looking at that data set row by row, going through it by hand to make sure that it was perfect. I get that people want answers quickly. I get that in academia, there's pressure to publish a lot. I get that in the startup social good space where I work, there's pressure to test things really quickly and have a lot of data. And I think there's a happy medium between spending 3 to 5 years on a study and rushing through one in a month or 3 to 5 months. Crafting your research questions, deciding a sample, figuring out what type of data you need and how to best collect it. Those decisions, those are where a study is made. So slow down. Those are my fun Saturday night musings.